All right. So let's start out with some gratitude. I love on the Monday night call last night, and this is what I love about our company is that they train us not only to help people well, but they train us to help ourselves first. And so last night on the call on Monday night, they said that gratitude brings you back to the present moment. So I don't know about you guys, but my mind can dig around in the past. So I can be digging around in the past, or I could be future tripping a lot, what's going to happen in the future. And so to bring yourself to now, right now, with all of us, the only thing that really does that is gratitude, because it makes you acknowledge something that's in the here and now. So let's put something in. I love it. Your relationship. I'm thankful. Oops, hold on. This thing's going fast. Oh, I love it. I'm thankful I can see my hubby. Oh, yeah. Good. Hi, Brian. Yep. Okay. So yeah, keep it coming, because it's not just an exercise that we do. There is a lot there for you, and just acknowledging what we have before we attain any more, right? What we already have. The concept of, sometimes for me, working with my growth coach is being versus doing. We're always doing, but sometimes you just need to rest in your being and what you're grateful for in that, and be able to acknowledge it's not always about doing. Sometimes it's just sitting with my being and who I am and what I possess for this mission, and all the things I have, whether it's a supportive spouse or a strong faith. That's something to acknowledge this morning. Okay. So I'm going to start out today with a story. This story is going to kind of set us up for our beautiful stories this morning and our teaching. So I really want you guys to kind of come with me, be as present as you can. But I'm going to read you this story. In 1957, an entire monastery in Thailand was being relocated by a group of monks. One day, hold on, let me make a co-host. Sorry, I'm going to be terrible at reading my story if I'm looking up at the screen. Trying to let folks in. Let me see, who do I see that can, Julie, can you help me out? I'm going to make you a co-host. Thank you. There we go. There. Now my story will be better. Okay, so this monastery in Thailand was being relocated by a group of monks. One day they were moving a giant clay Buddha when one of the monks noticed a large crack in the clay. On closer look, he saw that there was a golden light that was illuminating from this crack. And the monk used a hammer and a chisel to chip away at the clay exterior until he revealed that the statue was in fact made of solid gold. Historians believe the Buddha had been covered with clay by Thai monks several hundred years earlier to protect it from an attack by the Burmese army. In the attack, all the monks had been killed. And it wasn't actually until 1957 that this great treasure was actually discovered. So we tell this story on our Madness series. Usually Jamil will tell it. And it has so much meaning, because we put the muck and mire on us. You are solid gold for this mission. You are supremely qualified and called if you're here, right? Now, there are things that you will heap on top of yourself to protect yourself from the chisel, to get that clay off. What you're going through right now, what we're all going through, what happened up at Sundance, is we had people hammering clay off of us all weekend. It was painful. I'm not going to lie. There were moments where I was like, I don't belong here. Like, I don't belong in this room. I don't belong here. I don't know that I have it, right? Like they have it. And all that they've done is they've just allowed the chiseling and the hammering to be almost like this. Thank you, like open arms, do it. I'm willing, versus like this, don't, and so that was really the process. So I want you to think about your clay, Some of us have clay put on us from our loving parents. They maybe didn't mean to, but it's like, don't dream too big, be realistic, bring it down. Okay, we don't do that. Our family doesn't do that. If you guys have read the 12 shifts with Jamil, you know that part of the story there was as he was breaking out and breaking generational curses, it almost was offensive to the family. Like, well, who do you think you are? Hotshot, right? And that's tough. So what kind of clay did you bring on the call this morning? And are you willing to let it be chiseled off? The biggest piece of clay you're going to get off over and over and over is going to be self-limiting beliefs. You will stop you before this mission will stop impacting you. You will stop you many, many, many days. Your chatter is your muck and mire. So with that, our stories. So then when you see people that break through in their business and you're like, wow, and you're going to hear them this morning. You're going to hear people that have chiseled or allowed their mentors to chisel and trusted that process. And underneath, they're just solid gold, hearts of gold for the mission. And that's what I'm excited about this morning. So we actually added another story because we had plenty of time. So we're going to start. Let me just make sure. Do I see her on? Cindy L, are you on? There you are, my friend. I had to look in all the little squares. Awesome. Okay, Cindy, she's going to get us started and then we're going to come around from there. So I'm going to mute myself, friend. You away.
So good morning from the new home in Castleton, Vermont. Please excuse the lack of ceiling. So little things like roofs and indoor plumbing. And if you've ever seen the movie Baby Boom, I'm living it in Vermont, but it's okay. All this has helped me to prepare. And I actually went back and rewatched the movie again because the physical changes, in addition to the mental changes, have been a little overwhelming. However, we're getting there and re-engaging fully with the business. I had set this week as my drop dead where I was jumping back in no matter what condition things were in. And so here I am. So coaching story, I have a lot of versions because of all the layers to my life between, and it's funny, I've lived a segmented life, which is what first responders tend to do. You know, we segment and we bury, and we segment and we bury, and we set things aside. That's how we function. That's how we survive what we do. So this program has taught me to bring it all to one road better and check all that stuff that was, you know, in the way. And that's been getting better as well. So now that I've been merging the firefighter life post with the healthy lifestyle life now, bringing those stories together into who I am now, that's kind of, it's like, do I basically pick off those things and include those snippets because those are all part of who I am now, but that's not who I am now. Does that make sense? In a nutshell.
Are you still going, my friend, or no?
No.
Okay. Yes. Well, I'll tell you, I want to add to that a little bit, if I may. Cindy is just an incredible person. Her heart is ginormous. She'd give you the shirt off her back and then some. And we have just been so privileged to have her here on mission with us. And there's been a lot of obstacles, right? But she stays, and we love that. And she's brought other people to the mission and coaches, and her heart is what we want on this mission. So we're glad that you're back and that you're here and that you're going to contend with us. And I just love your bravery this morning. Like, hey, I'm back. Let's jump right in and start talking to our family, right? And this is your family. Thank you so much, Cindy. And we are so glad to hear from you this morning. Your voice is missed. Okay, all righty. So we're gonna head over to Juan. Where is Juan? There he is. Awesome. Okay, and Juan is on the Haberman's team. And oh my gosh, I don't want to take anything from his story, but what a transformation. I mean, wow, just wow. There's days where we're in the Zoom and I'm like, this is incredible. I think for us, the privilege and why I will be so purposed for sponsoring is because you guys remember those Coach Explorers and the person that you meet, and then just, isn't it wild that you keep meeting the better version of them every single time you get in a Zoom or in their business thread, and you're just like, are you kidding me? I ask myself all the time, and this will be something to ask yourself, what did I do to get such favor that I get to watch miracles every single day? What did I do to deserve that, to be able to walk that out with people and participate in that? So Juan, tell us your story for coaching in this mission this morning, and we are excited to hear from you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. And honestly, when you first asked me to give out my testimony, I was like in my mind, I was like, really? Like mine? Like me? Like you want me to give my testimony like to everyone? And so at first I was really just not completely just on board with it, but I gave it some thought and I said, okay, I really want to do this. I want to give out my testimony. I want to say why I started, but I also want to give the most honest answer I can give to everyone and to myself, because I haven't really thought about that question for some time. And the honest answer that I reached was, I just wanted to learn how to feed myself, and I just wanted to learn how to take care of myself. Mostly because when I first started, and this was almost a year ago actually, I was probably in the darkest place, or if I could give it a name, I was in rock bottom. And when you're in a place like that, like a rock bottomy place, you start to believe the things that you say to yourself, even if they're not the kindest of things. I used to tell myself that I wasn't like good enough to do things, and the logic was, if you were good enough, if you were good enough to do more and not be so useless, because those were the words that I used, you wouldn't be in the place that you are right now. And all of the mess and chatter of me telling all of these things to myself, there was a question that kind of came out that's similar to the health assessment question of, if you could think back to a time that you were at your healthiest. I asked myself, can you think back to a time that you were at your happiest? And so I got into my mental DeLorean, and I started to go back to, was it university? Was it college? Was I at my happiest during college? And I said, no, that's not it yet. And so I went back to high school. Was it high school? I said, no. Was it middle school? Was it elementary? And I started to kind of get a little worried, because I was like, was I really not at that time when I was a kid? And then it started to make sense a little bit more, because I'm an immigrant kid, and when you get plucked from Mexico, where you barely know Spanish, and you put into a place where not everyone knows Spanish, it's not all lollipops and rainbows. So I started to go back a little bit more, and I said, was it really around kinder, when I was just like blissfully happy, when I just didn't have a care in the world, where I was just happy being me without a worry? And I said, okay, I'm not going to beat myself up for that. I have my starting point. I want to do something. And I asked myself the next question of, what's one thing I can do that maybe it won't help a lot, but it won't make it worse, because I just kept telling myself things that made it worse. So the one thing that I came up with, or that the answer that I came up with was, maybe I can reach out for help. I can do at least that much. So that's around the time I reached out to Chris and Rachel, because Rachel was the one that gave me my health assessment. And I remember them saying, or Rachel saying that they could help me. And the way that they could help me was that I could start with one meal, and the rest of the 5 meals they would be taken care of. There would be no stress in that. And I remember just kind of smiling. Like, I don't know if I was like smiling on the outside, but I was smiling on the inside for sure, because that's at least something that I could do. So I started portioning my plate, and I started to actually like weigh it and make sure that it was the right amount. And I think after the first or second plate, I started to organize it a little bit different. I started to tilt the tilapia a little bit so it would look nice in the picture, and the asparagus, and I put like a little lemon on top of the tilapia. And and something funny happened when I started to do that, is that I kind of felt like I cared about how my plate looked. And not only that, I cared about my plate, and I was doing something for myself for once. And just that, just I guess that little lemon on top made all the difference. And so I said, okay, what's next after this? You know, I could build a plate now. What's next? And of all things, it's crazy. I started to go to sleep at a reasonable time and wake up at a reasonable time. And that sort of made it so that I had more time in the day to do more things. And then I filled that time, those hours, with reading and my journal and the habits of health. And then all of a sudden they got filled with I guess they're called self-development books, but I want to call them as self-defining books, because at that time I realized that I lived 25 years of my life with the mentality of I was happiest when I was in kinder. And so now I'm in a spot where I feel like I have the tools to not only define my future, I could redefine the entire time that I didn't feel like myself, that I didn't feel like I was enough. I could just actually work on that part too. And I could live in the future. As we say, to me, it's not just a phrase. I can live in the future because I can actually make more of myself, make myself a little bit more. And so for that, I feel grateful, because I started with just one idea of asking for help, and now I'm actually helping others. So thank you, Rachel and Chris and Yessie and Tim and literally everyone that's been involved. I'm so grateful for everything.
You have blessed us, that's for sure. We're the privileged ones to get to hear about this stuff every day, and your journey is especially marking. I don't always get that privilege to do a practice call and then watch the full evolution of it, right? And it was on a Zoom, and wow. So thank you so much. I love one thing I wrote in the chat. It's so true. When you think about excellence in your thinking, becoming an excellent thinker, right? It does start with how you make your plate, all of it. It's like how we do little things is eventually how we do everything. And that really spoke to me. That was powerful. All right, I'd like to move over to our next story, Chris Haberman. And you guys know that Chris and Tim were partners on the squad for a long time. And that's how we were so blessed to get to know them personally as friends and as family. And so you can imagine the dinner that we had with them, where we were kind of talking about what is this opportunity. And I'll get into a little bit more about Yessie when she teaches us in a moment. But I really wanted to share with you guys that brotherhood, right? You know, people on your heart list where you're like, oh, it would be so good for them. It would be so good for their young family. It could do so many things, and we can't get ahead of ourselves, right? And push things, but we just prayed. And we have people on our list today that we are just praying over, that they would accept this gift, that they would come with us. Chris and Yessie were on that list for sure, right? You want to give your partners everything you can, because they literally have your back. They have your life. And we are just so grateful for these two in particular. But Chris, the way he's cared for my husband has been second to none as a partner, running into fires and doing the hardest things ever. And so he's especially precious to me personally. So thank you, Chris, for just being all that you are, and just bless us with some transparency this morning about your caterpillar butterfly experience.
Thank you, Rachel. Good morning, everyone. How you guys doing? Good to see you guys up early this morning with us and listening to our story. So I just want to acknowledge Juan. Again, Juan was one of my practice calls, and Rachel led that. And again, as you'll find out with some of the steps of starting out, is just follow the leader and have an open mindset, right? So again, Juan, it's been amazing to see your growth. But I'm going to take a few minutes just to share my story here. And I think there's a power in everyone's individual story because we all got brought here for a different reason. And it's important to connect with that. So many of you may see me and my wife, we're always together, we coach together. But again, we still have our own individual journey. So just for fun's sake, like drop a 1 in the chat if you are like a solo coach, and drop a 2 in the chat if you are coaching with a spouse or a partner. And we'll see what we got there. But I'm gonna take you back to a time like way before Optavia. And I think this before and analogy picture, or before and after picture that we take when we're starting our client journey, it rung a bell on me, because I think it's important to reflect on capturing who we were before and seeing the different traits we had, and maybe some of the good things and some of the things that we weren't so happy with, or we wanted to change, but we felt like we didn't know what to do. And then the after, which is constantly evolving. And, as you know, we're always on this journey. So we have to constantly revisit that. So before, for me, physically, I grew up as an athlete. I was, always like doing sports, and health and fitness really wasn't a big issue for me. And that was my story. And then mentally, I kind of grew up with the perfectionist mentality. So it kind of hampered me in some ways, but I did really good at other things. And I was pretty shy and private person. So from those couple of things, mind and body, you could see that at a glance. Maybe when I first heard about Optavia, I was like, oh, that's not for me. Like, I'm fit and I'm shy, so I don't want to be putting myself out there like that. And those are some of the mindset I had initially. But it's interesting, actually, how I found out about Optavia was before I even worked with Tim on the squad a couple years ago. It was 3 years ago. I was on probation, and I heard about from some other firemen. Oh, they're doing the Tim diet, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm good. I don't need that, because I was just out of the tower and I was in shape. And you see guys, doing that, but that was over 3 years ago, and I just didn't have the right mindset or the right struggles to receive Optavia at the time. And I think that mindset is important to identify in your clients and coaches, and as you interact with people, and understand where they're at, and just be consistent, because this is what happened. A year later, Tim invited me to work 40s with him, and 40s is a really busy squad. And when you're running calls all day with somebody and doing things, you get to know them really well and really intimately. So again, Tim was not just like a work mentor where he was my senior firefighter and paramedic, and I was learning the job, but he was also like a life mentor to me, because he was someone I identified that I wanted to emulate and be like, because he was always listening. He'd give good, advice. He gave me value. And that's what you guys as coaches, you guys all want to do for your clients and the people that you're talking and creating conversations with. You want to give value, because people will remember that. And as life happened to me, and being busy, getting no sleep, coming home tired, me and my wife, I'm married, and I have 2 kids at home now, young ones. So I'll tell you one thing, I was present, but I wasn't present, because I took all this stress on, and I gained some weight, and I was sluggish, tired, unmotivated. A lot of these things compounded, and Tim was a consistent person in my life. And I obviously I brought that home, and I shared that with my wife. And one of the things that Tim was saying was, well, this program that me and my wife coach, it's not just all weight loss. Like, there's a lot of value and mindset and other things that we work with. And it really was interesting to me. So I almost had a little shift in my mindset of, this might be something that could work for us. And again, I knew about it for a while now, but it's finally starting to click for me because I was starting to go through some of those struggles. If you were on the call yesterday, our team call, you heard about having to have some real struggle in your life and it'll lead to some successes. And that was what I was finding for myself. So the Richards invited us to dinner, and at dinner, my wife, she kind of knew about it, and she loved the mission. She'll talk about that a little bit more after me. But for me, my story, I looked at it as an opportunity of like, okay, I'm doing this to better myself so I could be a better husband, a better father, a better person, and give some impact to people like the way I received it from Tim. And so when I started Optavia, you're doing the client journey and the coaching journey, and I was like, wow, this is really easy. I'm feeling good. It's simple. And if I had this mindset coming in and I'm feeling this way, I want to share this with other people. I don't want to hold this to myself. I really want to, my mindset was, wow, a lot of firemen could use this. A lot of other people that maybe were closed off or I thought could use this. So that was what kind of drove me forward and me becoming a coach and my why. And if I could just share a few nuggets with you that resonate with me, the big thing is just build trust and relationships authentically, because clients and coaches will come to you. And it took me a couple of years of hearing about Optavia before I really was open to it, as you found out. But I was able to receive the gift of Optavia. And then, before and after your client and coach journey, because we need to look where we came from and understand where we were at to have gratitude and be thankful for where we're going in our journey. And then ultimately, coaching and guiding has been the best form of personal development. You'll hear that a lot, but it's not just for financial or X, Y, and Z. Like, it's really to keep bettering yourself and stay accountable. So that's my story, and appreciate you guys listening.
We appreciate you. So what's beautiful is if we can, you just hit something so big, Chris, is document your before and after story, right? Who were you before Optavia? What are you becoming, unbecoming and becoming? What are you looking forward to? More, right? More growth, more development, more dropping the mask. If we are so busy telling our story to the world authentically, transparently, and dare to be great in that area, we won't have time to make up stories. If you're so busy telling your real story, you will not have as much time to make up stories. Made up stories are the only thing that will kill this business. Trust me. Trust me. The people that get taken out of the game, they take themselves out of the game because they make up stories. And those stories are so detrimental to their long-term success. And we've seen it over and over. We talked to a lot of leaders this weekend, and they're like, guys, personal development is the lack thereof is the only thing that will disqualify you to do this, is stopping the personal development. And so I love that. That was powerful, Chris. We are so grateful for you guys and for the timing. We trust in the timing. Do you guys trust in the timing of the people on your heart list? There are so many people to help that we don't need to drag or convince. And we didn't have to do that with Chris. We just knew, stay in our lane, keep inspiring, and keep being on this journey, and the right people will come at the right time. And so that's just awesome. Next, we're going to hear from Yessie. So a cool story for me is I knew a while ago, we were, in company together and different events. And Tim had said she has a couple businesses. So she was always a little CEO boss, like doing all these things and being such an incredibly inspiring person. I watched her in her stories. I'm like, man, she lives out loud like no one's business. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if she could be on our team? But she was doing Monet, right, at the time. I think she had just, I met her at a barbecue. And at the time, I think she had just started doing it or was thinking about doing it. I can't recall exactly. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't say, oh, no, don't do that. Do Optavia. Like, you should not do that. You should do Optavia. You should jump from there and come on our team. I didn't do that, you guys. As a matter of fact, I think I stood there and gave some tips for building a really incredible business that I've learned through network marketing and this business and mission. And I wanted her to be successful with whatever she was passionate about, right? And if it was that, I was stoked for her. I think what didn't happen then that probably would happen to me earlier in my coaching is scarcity. And I might have slipped into scarcity and wanted to get her, right? Like, where it's like, no, don't do that, do this. For some reason, that just didn't happen. And we just built a relationship. I did let her know what we were doing, and to a very mild degree, because I wanted to respect the choices that she was making at that time and edify her. I thought she was lovely as a mother and as a wife. And of course, she was on our heart list, but we needed to tarry and wait for the right opportunities until that presented itself. And at that dinner, it did. And we have just been so blessed by the two of them. The story today that I'd like her to kind of train through, and she's going to train through for you guys and give you some nuggets. They came in as a client and a coach. How many of you put a 7 in the chat if that intimidates you? Where you're like, well, could I start a client and a coach at the same time? And what is that like if that's intimidating to you? If you think that that could be problematic, or how do you do that? And when do you do that? And so she's going to give you guys perspective of what that was like. And that probably will turn into teachable moments for you in your business, I hope. So with that, my friend, will you share with us just what you've learned and see if we can make use of that?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Rachel. And good morning, everybody. And that part where you said that you didn't try to get me, I still wish you did try to get me. But let me tell you, like, looking back at it, I'm like, wow, I'm so thankful you didn't, because I did grow and learn a lot from the other business, Monet, and it brought me to this business, and it allowed me to actually grow. And I feel like without that struggle that I had with Monet, I wouldn't able to grow in this business. But I'm going to start off like a lot of us start off, is our story, because our story, all our stories, individual stories, are powerful. Okay. So my story, a little bit about me. I always been in health and fitness. I worked at a gym, my first job. My families are personal trainers. I myself, I loved diets. I did like so many diets because I was so curious, like what kind of diet is this client doing, or what are they doing? Like, I'm confused. So always have been about health and fitness. I met my lovely husband at the gym. So that's just my personality. And when I found out about this program, Chris is obviously telling me the story about how he met Tim. I loved Tim. I haven't even met him. And I was just like, oh, I love this Tim. I can't wait to meet him. He told me, let's go to dinner, right? Dinner, Rachel said. We went to dinner, and I was actually doing intermittent fasting. I don't know if you remember, Rachel. I was doing intermittent fasting, and then she's like, oh, like your food should be, coming pretty soon, right? Because you got to eat like in 5 minutes. And I'm like sweating over here, like, oh my gosh, like I got to hurry up and eat. Like, what am I going to do? So I'm all thinking about like my food, how I'm going to eat. So I had no idea what I was walking into. I had never heard of Optavia. My husband low-key was trying to encourage me to do this himself, but he's never pushed it on me until he allowed me to hear the mission. I think he knew like, you're going to be wowed, because I was wowed. So Rachel and Tim shared their mission. But I want you to understand, they shared it not in a like, hey, you need to lose weight. Hey, this is a before and after. Maybe you need this to help you with your meals. Because I came with a background where I'm like, tell me what to do, give me the structure, I'll do it, I'll measure, whatever. I fell in love with the mission of them helping people, because that was my entrepreneur mindset, right? I did Monat. I struggled with that. Pros and cons from that, but I was coming into this because my personality, I love gym and fitness. I love health. And they were literally speaking like magic to my ears. I'm like, yes, tell me more, tell me more. And I was just so obsessed with knowing that I had a vehicle, right? My husband's a firefighter. So I'm like at home, entrepreneurship, I did custom doormats, you guys. I did wood decor. I've done all kinds of stuff. I was like, if I could sell gum the next day, my husband'd be like, what flavor? Like, I literally was just trying to find something, my vehicle. And I was ignoring what I was passionate for because of scarcity, because of fear. Because I was like, oh, like, you're not good enough. You're staying home mom now. You can't do that. So anyways, I had all this fear build up. But when I found out about the mission that Dr. A, what Rachel and Tim was sharing, I was like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, absolutely what I've been waiting for. I was so thankful. And so I ordered my my client kit and my coach kit October 31st. So it's coming up on a year now. We started day one on November 9th. And just to put you in my mindset, I was ready, right? As you can hear, I was ready. I was so comfortable. I was like, this is my alley. Oh, this is gonna be so easy. Like, you know, I was trying to get people. They already come to me for advice. Like, they always tell me, hey, Yessie, can you just train me? I have like, even guys were like, hey, like, can you train my wife? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's your nutrition? Like, what do you think about this? You know, they really cared about my opinion because, like Rachel said, I lived out loud. And just me personally, that's my personality. I tell it how it is. I want to receive that too when I look on social media, like, you know, authenticness. So I was like, this is a perfect match. Like, this is easy. I was like, babe, you're on board or not, but I'm doing this. But then later, I want to tell you, I had a reality check, an absolute reality check, where I was just like, wow, okay, I have some chatter in my head. Where did this come from? Like, okay, well, name your ego, name your chatter. I find that helps. I call mine Iguana. Iguana wants to come in my head and tell me all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, all right, Iguana, like, what do you think I can't do this? Like, what's going on? So I had chatter in my head and I was just like, wow, I can't do these things. Like, it's hard for me. I don't want to just go out and tell people like, this is what I'm doing now. Oh, she did more now. This is just another thing, or she's taking this serious, all that. So I had all that chatter in my head. I'm not good enough. And big part too was I didn't have a huge transformation. Like, I'm like, oh, like, do I need to get, like, I literally was like, should I eat all kinds of stuff before I start? Because I'm not going to be able to lose much, you know, like, what do I do? So I had so much chatter. As a result, I was nervous. I froze. I was so scared with asking people to do practice health assessments. I was just so closed off. But at the same time, what kept me going was Tim and Rachel, like knowing that they're passionate for it, their passion, their mission. I was struggling between my chatter and just like looking at them like, wow, like I love what they're creating for their family, for their health, for their business, and etc. So that kept me on fire. Rachel and Tim was just like, okay, I'm going to ignore all this chatter, all this ego-ana talk in my head. So I had a shift. And that shift really happened when I made the decision to throw the ball back. I wanted to be on trainings. You know, I made it rocks in my schedule for boot camps. We had a whiteboard. I was so proud of it. Timer, just like we do for our 5-in-1. I put timers on. I'm like, nope, I'm not missing this book club. Nope, I'm not missing this Monday night call. Nope, power hour. I am making my day around those rocks in my schedule because I was so passionate about wanting to be in the position where Rachel and Tim were. So then I realized, you know, during those trainings that this program obviously wasn't just on weight loss. Like, I was like, wow, what are they talking about? They haven't talked about food yet, about measuring. And I'm coming in with this mindset about just, you know, food. So I experienced it in a deeper level as I got into my life book. So I say I would have a shift for many trainings. I know Coachable, how to do with it, right? Community, like it was a huge shift where I was just like, I'm getting the picture that Rachel had told me and Tim told me when we went to dinner. I was like, that mission that they said, it's coming out now because I was attending all these boot camps and trainings. So I leaned into my mentors and I just followed the structure. I was like, you know what? I read far in my life book where I'm like, you got to be open and coachable. I was this because I assumed it was one way, but I was like, I want to be this because I want to get to where they're at. So I'm telling you, Rachel and Tim were my motivation too. I was still thinking that entrepreneur business mindset. Like that's where I want to get to, right? Because I didn't have a weight loss story. So with that being said, that's just a little bit of my story, but I hope that you guys can relate to that, or maybe teach some points to your, clients and coaches. And I really want to give you some good nuggets to identify potential clients and coaches like me. So I would first point would you don't need a physical transformation at all. Get that out of your head. That was my chatter. Please learn from that. You don't need a physical transformation to start others. And if you focus on the weight loss, just like Justin Alvini said, are you having a chubby list? I was like, oh my gosh, that was so me. I had a chubby list. No, don't work on that chubby list. You're going to attract those dieters, right? So, and then more of a personal development program, right? Because that's what I really focus on when I do my health assessment. Like the food is like 2 seconds, right? Everything else is personal development, because what you focus on grows, and that's going to show in your clients that that's what they're seeing the program is. So I even have one of my friends, my high school friends that joined program with me. She doesn't have her name is Desiree. She doesn't have a huge transformation like me either. But I taught her how, like, what I learned is like, hey, use my transformation. Hey, look, go to these pages, transformational stories. You could add so many people's transformation. She had that entrepreneur mindset because I've been watching her, wanting to help people. So I'm like, this is your vehicle, girl. Like, you need to, she didn't like her job. I noticed that. I look out for cues, just like me. I didn't have a job. I didn't have nothing to drive myself. So I noticed that in her. And I was just like, hey, let's run with it. So she's coming into this program completely like, not like me with that chatter where she was just like, yeah, I just posted someone's before and after already. Like, so she's on it like that, where she sees it that way from the get-go. And then second, be open, coachable, and willing to grow and change. I'm sure you guys hear it all the time, right? Just like your client journey on the 5-in-1, you trusted the process. Trust the process when it comes to coaching. Like, this doesn't get any more simpler than that in guiding. And then third is structure is your best friend. Yes, it is. We had messy seasons, but structure, again, having those rocks in your schedule for making sure like, hey, do you have, can you make it on this power hour? Can you make it on this book club on Monday? I made myself make it on everyone, but just identifying that and telling your clients or potential coaches, like, these are rocks in your schedule. Make sure they're in your schedule, right? BBA, etc. And then fourth, lean into your mentors. They follow the leader. You guys hear it all the time. Ask questions. We communicate what's your why. It's always changing. And don't reinvent the wheel. Right? We hear it all the time. I can't say it more clearly. Don't reinvent the wheel. I actually learned from other people's stories on how they reinvent the wheel. And I think I actually learned from that. That's how I learned from other people's mistakes. Okay, you've done that. Let me make sure not to do that. And then share the program with everyone. Don't make decisions for others. Like me, I was making decisions for others because I was writing out that chubby list. And I was like, oh, they need it. My friend Desiree, she's good, she's healthy. No, she ended up being my client and my coach, right? So don't make decisions for anybody. 6 would be how to identify a potential client and coach. So think about think about that person that was doing entrepreneurship, that's shouting out loud, living out loud, is used to living out loud, the person who just motivates people, inspires people, someone who's speaking on purpose, someone that doesn't like their job right now. Like, I see people like, I hate this 9 to 5. And I'm like, okay, I'm putting her on my heart list, someone who could really use the financial blessings, right? And something that stood out to me that Rachel said a while ago was the trust deposits. I take that to the heart. Trust deposits. I'm putting trust deposits in all of these potential clients and coaches. I'm building relationships with them. I'm taking hikes. I'm going coffee dates. I'm going to church. I'm like, this is a plus for me. I get to hike. I get to have coffee. I get to go to church. And I'm building that relationship with them, right? These entrepreneurs that see this. So then they end up being like, so Yessie, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm glad you asked, So build those relationships and build those trust deposits. Just like Tim said, or Chris said that he had his huge trust with Tim. That's what got us. You building that trust, making that relationship work. We were sold on Tim and Rachel. I was like, I don't even care how this guy looks like. I'm already sold. Like, yeah, I love what they have to say, because he just tells me so many good things, and he's so honest. Okay. And then last would be live out loud, which you guys hear all the time. Live out loud, show people who you are. You're going to attract what you do, what you live out loud. Like I attract my crowd, just like Julie, you're gonna crash yours, Sandy, Juan, Alan, like you guys have your own personality where you're gonna attract those people. And I tell myself, okay, who do I want to become? Okay, I want to become this person, this person. Okay, I'm gonna start acting like her because I want to start attracting those kind of people into my clients and my coaches, and that's how it's gonna show up. But that's pretty much all I have for you. Sorry if I went too fast. Hopefully
It was amazing. And, there's something in there too that I want to highlight that I think is powerful when you're coaching someone like Yessie that has a client journey, right, that she's on, but she's starting a coaching business too. One thing that I want to just affirm you is she has always fought for her client check-ins with me. We are going through the life book. Have we done it perfectly? No, because sometimes you're like business coach mode, right? But one thing about her is she's always brought it back to her client experience. And it is precious to me to do check-ins with her around the life book and not just be her business coach. So if someone comes in, try not to abandon them as a client and just be their business coach. That can happen. And there's times where they may not need you as their health coach, but it is definitely one of those things that when you bring a dual, right, like they're coming in at the same time, be careful with that, because that can really cause them to stumble if they're not getting their own experience through the life book at the same time that they're becoming a coach. So that's huge. I love Iguana. I think you guys should name your chatter. And also your strong, like my strong girl, her name is Sasha Fierce. So I need to bring Sasha Fierce out sometimes and put that inner mean girl away. So maybe name your inner mean girl so that you can actually notice her when she comes in the room, or him, and call it out, right? I love that. It's beautiful. So let's kind of wrap up. That was so good. I think the one thing that also I wrote down was, and this came from Sundance, but when you said it, it really hit me. Be addicted to growth, not praise. Okay, the praise is definitely, we want to be an affirming culture, but we need to know our blind spots more than we need to know anything. And we definitely need to be addicted to growth, not praise. Praise is great, but that's not where we're going to have our breakthrough. You're going to have breakthrough when you get that tough feedback that you may be avoiding, that your mentors could see because you're too close to it, right? So asking for constant feedback. These two have asked us in every Zoom, is there anything we should be doing? Is there anything we should be looking at? Is there anything more? Is there a certain training that you want me to watch? Guys, it doesn't get any better than that. When someone's like, what should I be doing? Guide me. That heart will go so far in this business versus the peacocking of like, I just hit this rank, so like, I don't really need mentorship anymore. Oh my gosh, right? Ask me how many times I've seen that and how many times I'm guilty of it my own self, right? That's not going to help us. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen and help you guys out with a couple things. I wanted to slide this baby over because this is an example of, hopefully you guys can see this, breaking down your business. Look how cool this is. This is one that Chris Haberman did. And guys, the Habermans are a breath away from Fivic. So send them all kinds of good prayers and vibes because they are so close to Fivic and it is so exciting. But look at, as really brand new coaches in their first year, how they break down for their team. Here's your current reality. Here's your projected orders. That's what it would mean for your pay, right? Coach versus senior coach. Here's what would need to happen to hit senior coach. Here's what would need to happen to hit manager. Here's the pay impact for you, right? This is what it would look like. And going to the quickest route for ED, your income, and giving, I mean, just look at this breakdown, right? This is what can happen when you really start becoming a conscious leader and going in to your business threads of your coaches and helping them to see what they can't see. and really making sure that you break that down for them so they know, oh my gosh, when my mentor says I'm a client away from ED, what does that mean? Oh, it just means it's going to be double your annual pay. Double your annual pay. So we really need to go into our threads today, mentors and leaders. Make sure your team understands where they're at. It's more than halftime. I just wanted to encourage you guys because it relates to our actions today. So let me close out of here and get that up. Actions for day 12 is create accountability partners for conversations if you're not consistent. So if you're still struggling to start conversations on a daily basis, I would suggest creating an accountability partner because this is the bedrock of our business. Nothing happens until we start conversations. Nothing. Your post could be the most beautiful post in the world. If you're not starting a conversation, nothing will come of that post. Okay, really nothing, I promise you, especially right now when people are distracted. Elevate day 12. When you're done, drop some of these conversations from these posts in your business thread so we can cheer you on. 5 to 10 minutes in element 4. We've moved on to element 4 of our life book. Unless you're still in element 3, then stay there. And then how many clients need to join you in order for you to attain your goals? Send this to your mentor. So earlier I showed you Chris's breakdown. That's something that business leaders need to be doing in their mentees thread. Okay, that's what we get paid to do. We get paid to be business coaches at the same time that we're health coaches. And it's your responsibility as a mentee to start playing with that and saying, how far am I away from my goal that I put on my map? Okay, so it's not all on the mentor, but the mentors definitely, we get paid well to support our coaches. So we need to do that. So those are the actions for today. Thank you to all of our stories this morning. And let's get out there and just go start conversations and love people from the gift that we have. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.